Welcome to How to Get What You Want. This podcast is for driven women ready to claim their goals and navigate their careers with clarity and confidence. Join me as we explore real stories, tools, and strategies to help you steer your career exactly where you want to go. Let's get started on helping you get what you want. Hey, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here, especially today, because I have a really good friend of mine who just came out with a book. And we're going to talk about what it's like to live in the here and now and be really mindful about what's important to you. So, Monisha, so happy that you're here.
Thank you, Susie. I'm glad to be talking with you, and I am so excited to have this conversation, and hopefully everyone get a couple nuggets they can take home with them.
Yes. Well, tell them about you and how you got to where you are today.
So my whole career has been in digital media, technology, and I'm a mom, and I was one of those women who was struggling to try to figure out how to do it all. And I realized that over the span of my career, I had created various systems and tactics that helped me keep up with it all and realized that I had a system. And I
Nice.
thought, wow, if I could write it all down, put it in a book, and help others find one or two tips or tricks that makes things easier, why not? So that's the impetus for the book called Practical Productivity. It has 59 tips, and not everything works for everyone. I think that a lot of productivity mavens say this is the way to do it. And I don't think that I took a different approach in terms of it really is trial and error and try to find what works best for you and how you work. And then each chapter has a try this that gives you an opportunity to think of things a little bit differently. And they're also very mindset focused, not tools. There's a million tools out there, right? And you can find tools. But I think so much about how you approach life and approach what you're trying to tackle and get done is about how you think about it.
Yeah. And I was just sharing with you that I had a client who reached out who said, you asked what my biggest challenge was, and I was burnout. And I even feel more burnout because we're doing so much. I hear so many people say we're doing more with less. And I have this integration of this blended world, right? Because you have your professional life, your personal life, all of those things. And so your book really helps guide people to find their way through, because there's not what I love what you're saying is there isn't the same path that works for everybody.
Right.
And even that definition and how we look at it is different.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And this may sound strange for a productivity book, but a fundamental point is that no matter how hard you try, you aren't going to be able to do it all.
Yeah.
You just can't. There are not enough hours in the day. And there's one chapter about the math problem. It is a simple math problem that if you did or tried to do all the things you're supposed to do, like 8 hours of sleep and working out and 8 hours of work and commuting, you run out of time. And that's leaving out time for the things that you want to do, which is where we spend our time on social media or socializing or watching TV. So it truly is a math problem. And in order to make the most of your time, now you have to start prioritizing, right? And getting really smart about the decisions you're making about how you're spending your time. And I joke about, we all talk about time management, but we can't control time. Time moves on. You can't, like a remote control, stop it, rewind it, fast forward it. That's just not possible. So instead, I ask you to think about the things you can control. And instead of controlling time, you can control your priorities, you can control your attention, and you control your energy. And that's really how you start to maximizing your time by really focusing on the things that you can control.
And it's so important to be able to get clarity about that, because that gives you the empowerment to be able to hold those lines. The idea around saying no is so hard for us, especially as women. I have a really good friend who personally, all these women were together and they were talking about doing a road trip. And I'm not like, that's just not my thing.
Yeah.
And I remember they were like, okay, so you want to go? And I was like, sure, sounds good. And my friend goes, you know what? Not my thing, but thanks. I hope you guys have a great time. And I just sat there going, she just said no in a way that was so endearing, was so sweet. and she
Yeah.
got what she needed. And I'm like, oh, why can't I just, no doesn't have to be delivered like, no, that's a stupid idea. I don't want to go. But it can
Right.
be like really honoring to the other side.
Absolutely. And I really struggle with this in the chapter about saying no. I had to write for myself so that I can be reminded and reread it.
Mm.
But there are some tools that work. Like one of them is the to don't list, which
Mm.
is a great way to just really set a boundary for yourself and say, what are the things that I am not going to do?
Yeah.
And once you make that list, it's very freeing to be able to say no because you're honoring the commitment that you made to yourself. And then the other thing is, not saying a flat out no. And you say this in your work all the time that no is not the final answer, right?
Yeah.
But saying not now or not
Mhm.
at this moment, or can somebody else fill in? Or, there's another solution here versus it just being something that falls onto my plate.
Yeah. Do you know what it makes me think too is I love that to not do list because we believe we're really clear about our boundaries, but I would challenge us to really sit down and make that list because I
Yes.
could see how it could be very freeing. Because
Yes.
until I went through that experience and watched actually my friend, it made me realize that isn't my thing. And I didn't
Yeah.
really know that before that
That's
situation.
right.
And so
Yeah.
understanding, and that's okay. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that I'm a bad person because I don't love to do road trips with a bunch of people. It's just
Not at all.
it's not
There's
my
no
thing.
judgment. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you make a really good point because everyone makes fun of me and my lists, right? I write everything down and they're all organized. There's a whole section on lists and the amount of lists you can have. But it's really not the list making, it's the writing it down
Yeah.
part that gives you, it gets it out of your brain, it gets it on paper, it makes you remember it. It's that process that actually makes it feel real, right? It
Yeah.
makes it feel like, okay, this is something that I can actually own, or it's more definitive than what's swirling around in our brains 24/7.
Yeah. And and it goes to what I talk about in prepping for a negotiation is if when you're an objective mind, when you're not flooded by emotion, which when you have those boundary setting situations you need to, you can rely on your past self. You can
Yes.
rely on that list and kind of think about it as that other person who has set
Yes.
these expectations for me, which makes the words not feel so icky to us. We can
Yes.
just say, you know what, I really appreciate it, but that's actually not something that fills me up. I'd love to do something else,
Yes.
maybe down the future, but so it doesn't
Yeah.
have to feel that way. And that list is liberating because it's another segment of you that made that decision for you.
That's absolutely right. And I think, the other piece of that is just that communicating. I think a lot of us build up assumptions in our head about
Mhm.
their expectations and what they want us to do.
Yes.
But if you don't even have that conversation, it may have been that your friend didn't even care one way or the other, right?
Yes.
So making sure that we're giving that feedback and having that conversation and making sure it's a two-way street is also one of those, that's how we get to what we want.
Yeah. It's a work in progress. I have 3
Yes,
girls,
for all
all
of
in their
us.
20s, and there's
Yes.
so many times that I am anticipating their response to something that I don't feel comfortable saying, and like my therapist says, "Ask yourself, what's the truth here or what assumptions you're making?" And so often, I'm wrong because you know what? I'm not a mind reader. I think I am, but I'm not.
But so many times, a lot of our actions and our responses are based on what we think the other person wants of us,
Yeah.
right? And so, again, this may not be something people expect in a productivity book, but there's a whole chapter about giving and getting feedback just because you can't get what you want and you can't get results if you're not communicating.
Yeah. You have to
From
understand the experience of living outside of you.
yes,
If you don't,
absolutely.
it's unavailable to you without that feedback.
Yeah, for sure.
So
So
tell us about how do you create that to not do list? Like give us some action that people can take on sitting down and doing that. What advice would you give people?
So I don't know how if people do this or not, but periodically it's really important to do an audit of how you're spending your time,
Mhm.
right? Where is all your time going? And it's really easy to do if you use a calendar. You can go back or go forward a month. And I like to color code, and I can really see is that where that time investment, that's our most valuable asset that we have is time.
Yeah.
And how am I spending that time? And is that in alignment of your goals or not? And when
Mhm.
you find that you're spending time doing things that aren't really helping you get to where you want to go, that's where that to don't list comes in, right? So, for example,
Yeah.
I'm all about advancing women in the workplace. I believe in it. It's in my core. I spend a
Yep.
lot of time doing it. I take on a lot of mentees and I love that work. But when I did my audit, I realized I was spending a significant amount of my time doing that, and it was out of line with some of the other things I wanted to be doing at this point in my life. So
Mhm.
taking on new mentees is now on my to don't list.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean it has to be there forever, but it was, and it's so funny to your point. I feel so much more confident saying no to someone now that it's on that list than I
Yeah.
was prior to writing it down.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't want to say no to anybody. I want to please everyone.
Yes. It's so liberating to get clarity for yourself and see yourself from a lot of different angles. That is so good. I love
No.
this advice because there's so many times that I was unaware of those things that aren't serving me. And just saying yes becomes really easier until
Yeah.
you have that clarity. And, they say that you're more likely to say something yes to something that's way out in the future because you believe you're gonna have more time then. But the
That's right.
reality is you
No.
have this exact
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
depletion of your
That's right.
most valuable asset. And so really think about, would you say yes to this if it was in the next 24 hours? And if
Yes.
no, then really
Yeah.
value that answer to yourself.
And again, I think the other tool that I would recommend is there's that cringe factor, right? When you're like, oh, you're going to do something like, oh, this is not what I want to be spending my time on. And really thinking that because time is a limited resource, there's an opportunity cost. So every time you take on something that isn't strategic or isn't filling your cup, I love that filling your cup analogy, right?
Yeah.
We're taking away or not doing something that is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you have to really think about, okay, truly there is a cost for
Yeah.
doing all of those things. And I mean, a half an hour here doesn't matter. But if you add that up,
Yeah.
it starts to be pretty significant.
Yeah. When we went full-time virtual during the pandemic, I think that reality for me was the most just brought to my very core was I would say yes to a coffee with somebody that was all the way downtown. And so when I did the calculation, I was literally giving away 3 hours and with no even thought about what is it not in it for me, but is that filling me up?
Yes.
And it's like I've changed my whole mindset around that, thank
Yeah.
goodness, because I
Yes.
wasn't even considering
Yeah.
all that time I was giving. It sounds ridiculous to say that out loud now, but it's true.
And it's really eye opening and interesting because if you say to someone, like, I love a coffee and I love meeting interesting people, and you end up getting something out of it, right?
Yes. Yep.
You're right. You're like 3 hours of my time. But what I've noticed is if you tell somebody, like, hey, Susie, I would love to spend time with you because I
Mhm.
really enjoy our time together. But right now, my priorities are XYZ. They're actually like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yes. Yeah. Right?
you
And they
know?
respect you. They're like
Yes.
and they're probably secretly thinking, "Oh gosh, I wish I could be that way too." Right? Because we
Absolutely,
all are.
absolutely. You get this little "wow" kind of reaction,
Yeah.
which kind of then validates, like, okay, it's okay to, say that this is what is a priority right now.
Yeah. What's really funny is I have high adaptability, which means I can just go with the flow. And
Yeah.
so what that looks like is if somebody's scheduling with me and I have like a whole day, I'll just be like, I have the whole day. And a client of mine actually challenged me on not honoring my own time
Yeah,
because of that. Like, be more prescriptive about what you say. And I
yeah,
hadn't even noticed what message I was sending to
yeah,
the other person. And
yeah,
why not just say, look at that and go, instead of saying I have a whole free day, I would love to meet with somebody earlier in the day because I know I have more energy and I like that. Like thinking
yeah,
about what is going to really fill your cup and what part of the day. So I also love that time audit because I have my clients do that as well, and then have them think about what time of day and what you fill in those times
That's right.
is really important too. How do you look
Yeah.
at that?
Another piece of that, and I call it the perfectly productive day, right? And I think going with
Yeah.
the flow is a big piece of this, is really a time audit on how you're spending your time is one way. But another way to look at it is really your energy levels throughout the day, right?
Mhm,
There are night owls and they're early morning people.
mhm.
And if you get to track for about a week or so, if you track like where your energy levels are and then try as much as you can to map your schedule to your high and low points,
Mhm.
you'll find a better use of your time. So, for example, I used to start my day just checking emails. Like, oh, I'll just go through my emails because that seems like a good way to start my day.
Yeah.
What I realized when I did that was my high creative and high focused and productive time is in the mornings. So I was
Mhm.
wasting that on doing emails, right? So
Yeah.
now what I do is I do a quick check to make sure there's nothing urgent. And then I dive into my thoughtful, creative work and then do my emails later in the afternoon when I don't have that same energy and
Yeah.
focus. But each person, it's different. Like my mom's a night owl. I don't know how she worked for as long as she did because she does not function very well in the mornings, you know?
Yes.
But now that she's retired and she can, move her day to where her natural highs and lows are, she's so much more effective and happier. And I know all of us can't do that, right? We have meetings,
Yeah.
we have expectations, but there are a lot of times where you can move things around to make sure that it fits with your attention and energy levels. And that's a week is easy to just kind of track like how you're feeling. And so now I try to do my little social hour in the early afternoons, like 2 or 3 o'clock, or my meetings. I do it 2 or 3 o'clock because I just don't get work done at that point. I'm just
Yeah.
kind of, I need a break. So that's another really great way to try to maximize the time that we have.
Yeah, and I just the other day I was doing some writing and I was like, "Wow, I am like so smart and creative and the words are
You
coming
were
to
on
me."
fire.
And I was like, "Wow." And so I made myself so that idea of when you notice that time is disappearing and
Yeah.
but you're like, "Wow, I am like going I'm in 5th gear."
Yeah.
Take a note of that, and
Yes.
make sure that you notice those nuances of those days too, that it's not just, like, the physical energy, but it's also this, like, I love this time. I am, like, just loving life right now, and
Yeah.
so that you can then decide, "I wanna do more of this."
It's magic when that happens,
Yeah.
You're like, "Gosh, I'm fast. I just did so much in this 1 hour." And
Yes.
the flip side happens too, right? Like,
Yep.
there are times when I sit down to write, nothing's coming.
Totally.
And so many
Right.
of us try to force it. I say, "No, like, just stop." It's like,
Yeah.
"Why waste this hour? Let me flip it." I am a big believer in time blocking, right? Like,
Mhm.
saving time, scheduling time for that most important work that you need to do. But my twist on it is a little different. I save 2 times, and it's called double or nothing. And so if I have a big project or I'm writing a blog or something that's really critically important and I need focused time, I'll block one and then I'll block the second one. And the whole idea is if I'm not feeling it, I still have a backup plan. If
Yeah.
something urgent comes up that wrecks my schedule, which it does, I'm not panicking because I still got a backup plan. And the
Yeah.
third thing is if I do get it done in the first time slot, then I've got free time. It's like finding money in your jacket pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that analogy too, finding something in your pocket.
Yes,
And
isn't that great?
it's really funny because I've also my hack, and it's kinda similar, is that when I have to get something out that's really stressing me out, I will do a version of it as fast as I can,
Okay.
and then walk away.
Yeah.
And then I feel a little bit more liberated because it's not like I'm starting from scratch.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm that, but then I can give my energy to it and really feel good about it instead of waiting till the last minute where you may not have the energy or the focus to get it done.
Well, and what you talked about, and it's proven, is taking that first step. So even if you just put some stuff down on paper, you started. Even if it's
Yeah.
not the be all end all, it's starting. If you can just do that first
Yeah.
bit, then the rest of it will come. And so many of us, we have that lingering to-do list task that never,
Yeah.
ever, ever gets done. Couple things. One, it's start. even if it's not good, just start. The second is a lot of times it's too big, right? So break it down.
Mhm.
How do you break
Yeah.
it into smaller pieces so it doesn't feel so overwhelming and you can chip away at it versus trying
Yeah.
to do the whole project as a eating the elephant, so to speak.
Yeah. I love that advice. I'd love to know, I'm gonna totally put you on the spot,
It's
but
okay, go for it.
since your book's been out, what has been, like, the most either interesting feedback that you've gotten or something that really delighted you about what somebody said about reading it?
Well, what was been the most interesting is seeing so many people from different parts of my life holding the book and coming back to me and reconnecting with so many has been
Yeah.
so delightful and unexpected. I just
Yeah.
didn't realize how, and you have a book, so you might have had the same experience. I really did not realize how many people were out there supporting and, you just they come out of the woodwork and they
Yeah.
really recognize that it's a labor, and that's a
Yeah.
huge accomplishment. So that's been just incredible. But the most delightful moment, and you'll get a kick out of this, and I really wrote it so that people would find one or two things that could really
Mhm.
impact their life, right?
Yeah.
And I have found that even though I wrote it from the perspective of the busy mom, there's some other groups that have really gravitated to the content. And one of them is young professionals, right? They have not really been
Mm.
trained or learned this stuff in an educational environment. They're getting thrown into a working world that's a lot more demanding, confusing, blurring than what I started with. So it's overwhelming when they enter this. So my son just graduated from Auburn, and a lot of his friends bought the book and, were reading it. And at graduation, one of his friends came up to me and runs over and gives me this big, huge hug. And she's like, I love your book. It's changed my life. And I was like,
Oh.
whoa. And she said, chapter 36, when you write about how you forgot your phone and you survived, really made an impact. And if you think about
Wow.
it, and you've got kids
Yeah.
and that, or not
Yeah.
kids anymore, children
Yeah.
who are in that age where they've never been without their phones,
Mhm.
right? And we think of phones and productivity, which they are, but they're also one of the biggest distractions that result in a lack of productivity. And the whole point of not having your phone is that your brain functions differently. Like your
Mhm.
brain will feel different when you don't have your phone. So she
Wow.
tells me, she's like, I decided not to take my phone to senior night. I was without my phone for 5 hours, which in their
Wow,
worlds is
that's a
an
lot.
eternity,
Yes.
right? No texting. I couldn't take photos. I
Wow.
couldn't, and I said, and how did you feel? She goes, it was the best night.
Oh,
And that made, I was like so delighted. I said, even if it
yeah.
was 5 hours and it made a difference, she goes, I was present. I didn't miss anything. Plenty of other people took photos. So,
Yeah.
like, all those things that we fear, I mean, we truly
Yeah.
fear
I
the
know.
worst without our phones, but it can be the best. And so I really bake in no phone time. Like I walk without a phone, and people are like, well, what if you need a phone? I said, everybody else has a phone. I'm sure
Yeah.
somebody will lend me a phone,
Yeah.
if something terrible happens. So I really look for those opportunities for no phone time just because your brain just kind of, it just
Yeah.
settles. But not enough of us have that experience anymore. I
Yeah.
mean, there are people who go to bed with them. There are people who, like, it's just, they don't go anywhere without it in their hand. And it seems like a little thing, but if you try it, you actually crave those times. You crave that quiet that comes with it.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that's the challenge that we want the group to really think about is what are you gonna do to separate yourself from that thing? Our brains are so much more powerful than that little
Absolutely.
smartphone, but we
Yeah.
give it so much leverage in our everyday. I love that's a great way to end our conversation because I think that's a a huge challenge for everybody. Even if you give yourself 1 hour, start small, like you said before. How do
Yeah.
you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, so just a
Yeah.
little bit at a time. Well, how can people find your book and learn more about you?
Absolutely. So my book is available on all the retailers. It's called Practical Productivity: A Guide to Surviving Life's Juggling Act. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me there. And then I also have a website called productivity101.biz. Also, I didn't mention, but it comes with a free app. Priorigami allows you to track your tasks in an easy to function
Cool.
way. So your to-do list is always with you and easy to manage. And there's information about the app on there too.
Awesome, awesome, and what I love about your book, and you and I were talking about this, is it's all about getting what you want. It's about
Yes.
being really clear about it, putting your priorities first, and just getting really clear for you so that when those opportunities around you shine a light, you don't miss them because you have your head in your phone, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Well, if you know somebody that needs to hear this and to also know Monisha, please forward this on to them. It's a win-win. It makes them know that you've been thinking about them. And if you want to grab my newsletter, go to negotiationlove.com or just connect with me. And just remember that negotiation is more than a skill, it's a mindset. Until next time.